Hey guys, Derek West here for Finance Squared, and according to a survey of 2,000 Americans by Highland, a research and marketing group, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck following the Rona pandemic. That is an alarming statistic, but the sad part is that 44% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck even before the pandemic started, and 2/3 say they're cutting back on their emergency savings. The good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. We all have the capacity to break the cycle and turn our financial lives around so that someone who makes $50,000 a year can become wealthy. What am I talking about? I'm talking about avoiding lifestyle creep. What is lifestyle creep? Nope, it's not that person sliding into your DMs after you posted a saucy pic on the weekends. No, lifestyle creep is something different altogether. Think about the last time you got any amount of money. It could have been you getting your first job, getting a raise, or maybe you got a nice sweet bonus. Perhaps one of the side hustles really came up big and you got into the money, so to speak. Maybe you won a little bit of money playing scratch-off tickets, or somehow, some way, you found yourself with just a little bit more cash than you were normally expecting. Now think about what you did with that cash. Did you have it a few weeks later, a few days later, a few hours later, or did you spend it the second that you got it? A typical response for found money is for people to say to themselves that, heck, I only have one life to live. Let me reward myself just this one time. Well, dear viewer, that is a kind of lifestyle creep. One that is not as pernicious as the typical lifestyle creep. Well, rewarding yourself that one time is going to result in you not having that money the next time. And that's just one type of lifestyle creep. Other definitions of this phenomenon can include spending every last dime you get the second you get it, even if you get more dimes. Keeping up with the Joneses can be considered another form of lifestyle creep. You know, when your neighbor or your buddy or someone who they just treat themselves to something nice. The aforementioned nice house or cars or clothes, etc. You naturally feel a slight urge to show you can hang with the big dogs as well, and you up your game to match theirs. But the most insidious type of lifestyle creep is when your personal income increases and your discretionary consumption increases right along with it. Because the things that you buy are nice, now that you have more money coming your way, you can't live without them, and thus your wants become your needs. This is a natural human reaction, and most people at one time or another have fallen prey to this kind of thinking, including yours truly. So what's the problem? Well, the fact that most people in the US, and dare I say the globe, they're living paycheck to paycheck because of this phenomenon, and thus their wealth never increases. In addition to that, very few of them have enough money put away to live a comfortable retirement where they can expect a similar standard of living instead of a downgraded one. Add into the equation credit cards that can enable this sort of loose spending, and you can see why some people wind up in financial disasters despite having relatively lucrative jobs. And this just doesn't apply to millennials and Gen Z types either, but it's a multi-generational thing, and oftentimes people nearing retirement fall into this trap just as much. Think about it for a second. Since someone who is 5 to 10 years from their retirement is more than likely in their highest earning years, and at the same time, they more than likely will have managed to pay off some of their more expensive recurring costs, such as house payments, childcare, and therefore they're in the prime psychological profile to spend the quote-unquote excess cash that they are now in possession of. And since one of the goals of a comfortable retirement is to maintain a lifestyle that you become accustomed to, if your spending habits jump right before you retire, then that lifestyle that you become accustomed to is just inflated, or creeped up if you will. And this comes at the worst time possible, because as your cash outflows increase and your cash inflows decrease because you are going to be retiring soon, your savings and investing thus will decrease, giving you the double whammy of financial destitution. Now, it doesn't have to be that way though. If you play your cards right and know how to spend your money, a person making $50,000 or $60,000 a year can be in a better position financially when their retirement comes around than somebody who makes $300,000 a year. How is that possible? Well, let's dive into that a little bit more and look at the steps that it will take for you to avoid lifestyle creep. The first step is to get back in touch, or perhaps to create life and financial goals that mean something to you. Everyone has goals that they aspire to. Everyone has a why that drives their actions. However, sometimes, as life takes its course, we get caught up in the day-to-day minutia, and that why goes further and further from our consciousness. Perhaps you never had a why. Maybe you don't have a big goal that drives your decisions. Well, that's okay as well. That's when you need to dig deep and discover what that why is. Find out what you are passionate about. Find out what can inspire you to think more than just for today. Because frankly, that's your next step. That next step, sacrificing today for tomorrow. One of the drivers of lifestyle creep is the unwillingness to think long term. Not just thinking long-term as a matter of fact, but acting long-term. In our lives, we all have made decisions to think for the long haul. If you're watching this video, you more than likely have been to an educational institute of some kind, whether kindergarten, high school, grade school, kind of out of order, college, grad school, etc. You more than likely had to study for and pass tests to get good grades, which theoretically, perhaps not actually, proved that you knew the subject that you were trying to learn. You probably got a job at some point in your life, or maybe you decided to start a small business or a tech startup, or maybe you decided to drive an Uber as your occupation. Each of those is an example of long-term thinking, sacrificing what you want to do now to get money for the future, however far in the future that may be. To avoid lifestyle creep, you need to take that concept and apply it again, but this time to your spending habits. One of my favorite YouTubers, Stephan, well, he talks about Starbucks as an example of this, and how spending Starbucks every day is actually a major drain on your finances. And if you sacrifice and instead buy coffee in bulk from your favorite grocery store, or better yet, a bulk grocery outlet, like let's say Costco, well, that would be taking steps towards your financial future today. And again, this concept can be expanded upon, and it can really add up in terms of the wealth creation opportunities that it presents to you. You see, sacrificing today for tomorrow means forming positive habits. When I say positive habits, what am I talking about? Positive habits can run the gamut. From habits for improving your personal well-being, like getting up early in the morning, saving and investing a little bit from every paycheck you get. Positive habits can and do build upon each other, and the more you do them and the longer you do them, the more good they do for your life. Let's take a look at forming positive financial habits as a way to increase your financial well-being. Getting into the mindset of forming good habits is a precursor to forming good financial habits. It's about forming the mindset of not satisfying the natural urge that everyone has to spend the newfound money that they get the second that they get it. It's about disciplining yourself to sacrifice today for not just tomorrow or next week or even next year, but the next 5, 10, 15, or 20 years from now. So take forming a good habit seriously. It will train you for the time when your finances will improve in a positive direction. Good financial habits that you should work on acquiring now include taking a portion of what you earn and investing it. And the next question that always comes is, well, what should I invest in? It doesn't matter for right now. You just need to form that habit. And to keep it real simple, start by investing in your savings account. Learn to save more and more of your income with each pay period. Make it a little game with yourself. How much more can I save this pay period? Now eventually, and frankly, as soon as possible, you're going to want to transition from merely investing in your savings account to taking the plunge into other investing avenues. Investing is not easy by any means. It has its own pitfalls that must be avoided, and as a matter of fact, we talk about them quite extensively on this channel. Which reminds me, if you haven't already, like this video if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications, because I talk about those pitfalls and how to avoid them, and how to be a truly steely-eyed investor who exponentially increases their wealth. That aside, one of the best financial habits you can form is to learn how to save to invest. Let's take a look into that next. Saving money is an art and a science. There are ways to do it that can be surprising to most people. And again, I talk about those sorts of topics on this channel, so make sure you're subscribed. But saving can be broken down into 3 basic steps. Know your income, know where it goes, ruthlessly cut out discretionary spending when and where possible. I find that most people are good at parts A and C. It's part B that oftentimes trips a lot of people up. And to be fair, people have problems with both A and C. But let's talk about B first. The first thing you want to do when you're learning how to save is figure out where your money is going. Generally speaking, for a lot of folks, your income is the paycheck that you get from your job, or your side hustle, or wherever your money comes from. Now that part's easy, right? Identifying where you're overspending, also kind of easy. A little bit harder to cut back, but just identifying it, not that bad. What's not that easy is tracking where each and every cent goes from that paycheck. Well, I will say it's never been easier than now to keep track of all your finances. There are various apps out there that can help you keep track of where each and every red cent goes. Pick one of them that's known for its security and privacy settings. I'll talk about some of those in a future video, but if you do that, now you can get a visual on where your money is going. And even if you have to use pen and paper and a notepad somewhere, do that. Make sure you track every dime that you spend. This will give you a picture into your spending habits and what you might need to change in your lifestyle that can influence your financial well-being in the future. And this is where you got to get scientific with your spending. See where most of your discretionary spending is occurring, and then ask yourself, do I really need to be spending this much money on all these things? More than likely, the answer will be no. And that sort of brutal honesty is going to be important for your next step as well, cutting back on your non-discretionary spending as well. And this is where it gets real, folks. You need to ask yourself, do you really need this house with the Olympic swimming pool, entertainment center, foyer with the glass chandelier? Or maybe, just maybe, you could live in more humble accommodations. The answer to those sorts of tough, piercing questions oftentimes is not easy for a lot of folks, and it kind of lets you know where your priorities lie. Do you prioritize your comfort now or your comfort in the future? And if you're going to avoid lifestyle creep, at the very least, do not increase any of your discretionary spending, particularly for items that do not appreciate in value. Things like cars and jewelry and most electronics. Those are the sorts of things that decrease in value, that depreciate in value, and they more or less act as an anchor around your financial neck, which have identified your discretionary spending and your non-discretionary spending. Try and cut each as close to the bone as possible, and don't increase either. And now you're ready for the next step. You've identified your spending, you've been saving. Now you have to invest the difference. So if you manage to keep your lifestyle the same as your income, increases, what you do instead of upgrading your house or your car is you upgrade your investments. A common practice is that whenever you get a bonus, put that into your investment account or your investment vehicle, whatever it is. Other common ways to do this is to, whenever you get a raise, increase the percentage of your investments by the exact amount of your raise. For example, if you have a 401k or an IRA, and let's say you get a 4% annual raise, well, instead of paying 4% more for your meals or an automobile or a more expensive apartment or house, put 4% more into an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 or Russell 2000 or whatever you're invested in your 401k or IRA. Keep doing that. Keep doing that with every new increase you get in your income. And without a doubt, you can ghost that lifestyle creep for good. Now, there are other, more advanced ways to upgrade your investment lifestyle. Those are all separate topics for other videos. And if you're the type of person that loves all things personal finance, be sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss those videos when we drop them. And be sure to like this video if you liked this video, and leave us a comment with your thoughts on avoiding lifestyle creep, because we're all dying to know. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish, and a goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Take it easy, guys. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.